What's going on with the truckers? I was asked to share this news from so many truck drivers, and this does affect a lot of truck drivers, so we at least need to talk about it. Just recently, Biden devotes $36 billion to save union workers' pensions, right? The money comes from last year's COVID-19 relief package and will avert cuts of up to 60% of pensions for 350,000 Teamsters, which include truck drivers, warehouse and construction workers, and food processors.
Today, my administration is announcing that $36 billion of that money was going to prevent the drastic cuts to workers' hard-earned pension benefits, cuts that have been scheduled to occur within the next few years. It's not going to happen. The cuts are not going to occur. And here's what it means. For years and years, union workers have been driving trucks from factories to stores, bagging groceries, constructing the buildings and the bridges and the roads that we use every day, and so much more. I just want to pause for a second and say, imagine if you're not a union worker, you have a good job, you're retiring, about to retire, and you find out your pension plan is going to be cut 60%. Imagine what that does. Imagine what that does to you.
So definitely let me know if you work for the Teamsters or not and how you feel about this news right here. Definitely there are opinions on both sides, but I just want to share the news information that has anything to do with truck drivers. So mother truckers, comment down below. What are your thoughts about this, and how do you think this is going to affect the trucking industry in the future? I'd really like to hear from you guys. I appreciate you guys so much.
With my Teamster family, and deeply honored to introduce President Joe Biden. I am a retired Teamster from Local 200 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I worked for 30 years for several different trucking companies that were part of the multi-employer pension fund. The fund I belonged to was Central States. I'll never forget the day I received a letter with the news of a possibility 55% reduction in my monthly benefit. Life changed for me that day. At that time, my wife, Beverly, we found out that she was ill with pancreatic cancer. The stress not knowing how we would manage our expenses, along with added medical bills, became a huge burden on us. A good friend called me and says, hey, there's a retirement meeting at the small church. We need to go. I got to the meeting, and I knew that I wanted to get involved. My life changed forever. Together with so many of these retirees that stand behind us, we formed the National United Committees to Protect Pensions. I am currently the president of that organization. This fight went on for years. Along the way, so many champions in DC fought alongside us. Senator Sherrod Brown, Chairman Richie Neal, Speaker Pelosi, Chairman Bobby Scott, Senator Democratic Leader Chuck Schumer, and many more, like the lady from Wisconsin, my favorite. I had to say it, folks. I had to give her, Senator Tammy Baldwin. It wasn't until then, when we met this gentleman who took office, and we started to believe we might be able to win this thing. Some of us began to take a few extra exhales, and some of us still waiting to exhale. President Joe Biden is a good man and true to his word. Throughout his campaign, he looked us in the eye, and he told us, and he promised that he would protect our rights to a dignified retirement and the benefits we earn through our lifetime of hard-earned work and sacrifice. And in less than 49 days, President Biden signed the American Rescue Plan, which included the Butch Lewis Emergency Pension Relief Act of 2021. This solution was named in honor of our dear friend and pension warrior, Butch Lewis. There are some people here that weren't able to make it today, and I just wanted to say we wish they were here. Mike Walden and Rita Lewis. And when I look up at the sky, I look up at my wife, and I tell her her name was Mouseketeer. When I used to come here and lobby, I used to do roll call every day and call her Mouseketeer, and she'd say, here. I know she's looking down on me, so I just want you to know, sweetheart, I fulfilled your promise. I did not quit. We found a solution with this man here. So without any further delay, it is my great honor to introduce President Joe Biden.
Thank you, man. Thank you all for being here, and I apologize for my back when I'm speaking to you. My mother gave me hell for doing that. But Ken, thank you for the introduction and for representing your brothers and sisters in organized labor, and who always get the job done. While they can't be here today, I want to thank Leader Schumer and Speaker Pelosi, Senators Brown, Patty Murray, Ron Wyden for their leadership in this issue as well. And I want to thank all the members that are here. Richie, it's good to see you, pal, and who leads the powerful House and Ways and Means Committee and saw this legislation and to the end and saw it through. And Tammy Baldwin, he's mildly prejudiced about your position and from that state you represent. Tina Smith, Representative Bobby Scott, Marcy Kaptur, a great friend, and Frank Marvan. Thank you all for being here. And a special thanks to Labor Secretary Marty Walsh, Teamsters General President Sean O'Brien, AFL-CIO President Liz Schuler, for believing what I believe, that the middle class built America and unions built the middle class. We all know in recent years the middle class has been hit pretty hard. Unions have been under attack. We've had an economy that didn't feel like it worked enough for working people. A pandemic made things a lot worse, and that's when I signed the American Rescue Plan to provide economic relief for folks who needed it and needed it the most, keeping tens of thousands of cops and firefighters, teachers, first responders on the job as state revenues dried up during the pandemic in all 50 states. And through the American Rescue Plan, we laid the foundation for an economy built from the bottom up and the middle out. I'm press is tired of hearing me say this, but you know, when the poor have a ladder up and the middle class are able to prosper, the wealthy do very well. Everybody benefits. Trickling down doesn't usually get down to the bottom. One of the big ways we did that was by including the Butch-Lewis Act. That shored up the pension plans for millions of union workers and represents the most significant investment in pension security for union workers and retirees in the past 50 years. This summer, I went to Cleveland to announce how we'd get this going and get it done. Over $80 billion to keep multi-employer pension plans for union workers and retirees solvent for decades to come. And today, my administration is announcing that $36 billion of that money was going to prevent the drastic cuts to workers' hard-earned pension benefits, cuts that have been scheduled to occur within the next few years. It's not going to happen. The cuts are not going to occur. And here's what it means. For years and years, union workers have been driving trucks from factories to stores, bagging groceries, constructing the buildings and the bridges and the roads that we use every day, and so much more. I just want to pause for a second and say, you know, imagine if you're not a union worker, you have a good job, you're retiring, about to retire, and you find out your pension plan is going to be cut 60%. Imagine what that does. Imagine what that does to you. The truck drivers, warehouse workers, iron workers, bricklayers, carpenters, laborers, plumbers, musicians, food workers, and so many more people. A lot of businesses aren't willing or able to run their own pension plans. And in some industries, workers can be employed by several different employers over time. So working with unions that represent their employees, businesses in the same industry, often join together to form multi-employer pension plans. These plans serve 11 million workers and retirees across the country. And with each paycheck they earn, their employers put money into the pension plan. Like so many Americans, they work hard today to secure retirement for tomorrow. But over the years, due to changing economic trends, persistent attacks on unions, over 200 of these multi-employer plans were facing potential insolvency. That meant 2 to 3 million workers, through no fault of their own, they kept their end of the bargain, faced painful cuts to the benefits they were counting on in retirement. Think about that. For 30, 40, 50 years, you work hard every single day to provide for your family. You do everything right. You track every dollar, that paycheck, for groceries, for mortgages. You need every penny of it. And while knowing that when it's time to retire, though, the pension you earn is going to be there. That's security. But then imagine losing half of that pension or more through no fault of your own. You did your part. You paid in. Imagine what it does financially to your peace of mind, what it does to your dignity, because you count on not having to rely on anybody to retire. It's about dignity. You heard me say it before. My dad used to say a job's about a lot more than a paycheck. It's about your dignity. It's about being able to look your kid in the eye and say, everything's going to be okay, honey. Just simple dignity. And then you found out it wasn't going to happen. You weren't going to have that pension. So with the American Rescue Plan, we included the Butch-Lewis Act, named after an Army veteran and a true champion of union workers, to protect the pensions you all work so damn hard for, pensions you sacrificed to secure. And today, my administration is announcing the single largest approval of funds from the Butch-Lewis Act, $36 billion to cover over 1,000 employers, 350,000 union workers and retirees. These union workers and retirees are facing cuts up to 60% of their benefits starting in the next few years if we hadn't acted. That means some folks would stand to lose $10,000 each and every year of their retirement. That's how much they'd lose each and every year of their retirement, the money they earned. Instead, thanks to today's announcement, tens of thousands of union retirees and workers in states like Ohio, Michigan, Texas, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Missouri can go to bed tonight knowing their pension they work so damn hard for is going to be there for them when they need it. So I want to thank everyone at the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation who worked so hard to make this program work, including the director who's here today. Thanks, Gordon, for being here. I really do appreciate your work and being here. This matter... This matters for workers. But every time I say this matters for workers, I think to myself, this matters for their spouses. This matters for their kids. This matters for their mothers and fathers they're taken care of. It matters. It matters. It matters for their families. It matters for the country. And let me close with this. I campaigned to restore the backbone of this country, the middle class, the unions. And over the last 2 years, that's what we've been doing. Americans are working. The economy is growing. Incomes are rising faster than inflation. And early this year, I was in Phoenix to announce a $40 billion investment in 2 semiconductor factories with thousands of union workers helping build those factories. And our plan is to build an economy from the bottom up and the middle out, and it's working. It's working. As I said, my dad used to say, paycheck's a lot more than, it's about your dignity. It's about your place in the community. It's about everything you've worked for. The fact is that we're in a situation that's about defining a dignified retirement and in a home and a community you worked in and lived in and not have to leave. So thanks to today's announcement, hundreds of thousands of Americans can feel that sense of dignity again, knowing that they're provided for their families and their future and that it's secure. So God bless you all. May God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you.